if you think of the families around the world, then we can touch that pretty quickly. So we want to introduce credit union philosophy to all of you. We want to introduce why it's special to be working with fintechs and working with them to support our members. And so we're going to start off with a few questions, and I will start with Dietrich. Please give an overview of your credit union and your vision for the future.
Thank you, Sue, and it's a pleasure to be here with you all today. Navy Federal Credit Union is 91 years old, has 14 million members. We've been growing since 2020 at about 1 million members a year, so we've got a fair amount of growth. And I would say our vision right now is we are partially through, well, significantly through a major technological refresh, and we are beginning, I would call, probably chapter 2 of that. We built an incredible data platform that is, at least I keep challenging other vendors to tell me if it's not, first in class. And then right now we're transitioning our cloud to the core, our core to the cloud, sorry. And as we sit here today, we are going to the next generation in our digital platform. Our mobile app is right now in week 2 of going live on Apple. It's already gone live on Android. So we have quite a bit going on in the technology refresh area. But it's great to get this goal of 1 billion members. I think that's a really good target to have. We spent a lot of time recently refreshing our strategy and talking about how important growth was to us, and whether growth was a goal or an outcome. And we decided it's an outcome, and the goal is to provide incredible member service. And that's what we, I think, share in common as credit unions, is what we really care about is serving our members. And you may know our tagline is our members are the mission. That's what we're about, and supporting those members is kind of what we wake up every morning thinking about on a daily basis.
I think that's right. When you think of outcome, it's really about changing lives, right?
Absolutely.
So we all have that in common. So Bill, tell us a little bit about you.
Thank you, Sue. Thank you for putting this panel together and for including me. So I'm the CEO of Schools First Federal Credit Union. We are based in Orange County, California. We serve school employees, as you might imagine with our name. We serve school employees and their family members throughout the state. So we are the largest credit union in California, not as large as Navy Federal, although my grandfather was in the Navy, so I remember. Also Schools First. But we have 1.4 million members. We're growing about 120,000 members per year, so we're going to do our part to get to 1 billion. I agree. It's a big, audacious goal, but I think it's important to have a vision for the future of credit unions. One of the things that makes credit unions unique is that we're not-for-profit financial cooperatives, and we're owned by our members. We don't have shareholders, we have members, and we pay dividends to our members. We focus on serving the unique needs of school employees. Today, that's throughout the state of California. You know, down the road, our vision is to be the preeminent financial institution to the nation's educational community. So you could envision a day where we expand outside of California. But very similar to Navy, we see growth as an outcome. I get asked a lot by my friends and peers in the credit union movement about our growth strategy, and we literally do not have a growth strategy. We have a service strategy. If we can meet the needs of our members, much of our growth, as I'm sure it does at other credit unions, comes from our members referring other people to join the credit union, particularly this time of year when schools are starting up in the late summer and early fall. We see a surge in growth because of new school employees and because of new people working at school sites, and that's where our core members come from, is from the education community. And when a member joins from a school, they typically bring their family members along, as I'm sure is the case at these, my fellow credit union CEOs here, organizations. So that's it. We provide world-class service to our members. They refer other members. We meet the unique needs of school employees, and that benefits their families as well.
I think that's great. And you mentioned a very important component, and that's family members, the next generation, our generations coming up, and understanding the social impact of our credit union. So that's a great lead into Jennifer. Please tell us about your credit union.
Yes, my name is Jennifer Oliver. I am the small credit union in the group. We're at $1 billion in total assets. We serve about 75,000 members. And we are here to help people realize potential. We are actually focused on a social impact business model to target underserved and underbanked communities, primarily in Southern California and Southern Nevada. We believe that we can help communities thrive by providing knowledge, access, and care. Those are our three main tenets that we really focus in on. And when I think about the vision, our vision is really more of an impact vision. We are really looking to help pave the way to serve these underserved communities. And very apropos, literally Tuesday, Janet Yellen produced a framework around banks and credit unions to provide affordable access and credit to underbanked and unbanked communities. And they estimate in the United States around 6 million people are underbanked. And we want to be part of that. We want to serve that community. And we totally agree that we think just providing basic access to some of these communities can really help uplift communities.
I think that's fabulous, and I think all of us have mentioned the fact that credit unions are cooperatives, and so that is a different business model, and it's one that can reach these communities as underserved. So that's fabulous. Brian, tell us about you.
Yeah, I'm Brian Koss. I am the president and managing director of True Stage Ventures. So I'm the only non-credit union CEO up here. But I have an interesting perspective in that I spend half of my day talking to early stage fintech companies, running our venture fund, and the other half really talking to credit union leaders. And so I kind of have maybe my thoughts on what does the next 10 years look like for the credit union industry. And I think we're really at the crossroads. I think the tailwinds, and I think it came across here, is that credit unions have a tremendous mission that resonates with people of all, and especially younger consumers that I think are really focused and driven by social impact. Probably one of the biggest headwinds is, though, as evidenced here at Money 2020, is that technology continues to have a greater and greater impact on how financial services are delivered. And so I think you have some very successful credit unions here on stage, but I also talk to credit unions that are shrinking in size, that have an aging membership, where the average age of a credit union member, depending on who you talk to, is over 50 years of age, and their membership continues to get older. So how do we use technology to reach new members, to reach underserved markets? Technology can do amazing things. And so I think for those credit unions that are on sort of the front end of that journey of partnering with fintech companies, they're taking advantage of the relationships to help them grow, to be successful, to be competitive. We spend a lot of time maybe with other credit unions to try to get them to realize just how important these partnerships are going to be for the long-term survival and viability of those credit unions. And again, that's kind of where we come into play. We've invested in over 50 fintech companies and really look for companies that can help address those critical needs of credit unions, or that have solutions that can enable credit unions to better serve their members.
That's excellent. So what you're hearing here is that we have a lot of success. We also have the evolution financial services is going through. When we think of the term fintech, financial technology, right? The thing that you'll find, all of you that are here attending one of the most significant Money 2020 events, is the fact that credit unions are different, relationships are different. When you have an opportunity to work with them, you're working with them to solve and to work for members. It's not just a business. We wanted to talk to all of you a little bit about that. And I'll start with you, Brian, because you brought it back. The idea of fintechs and why are you investing? And one thing I think we need to know is that you actually represent, 95% of the industry from a company standpoint?
Yeah, so right, we do work with about 95% of the credit unions, and by just quick show of hands, how many fintech companies are in the audience? Yeah. I think what we do is, when we talk to a lot of fintech companies, it's like, hey, how do we crack into the credit union space? It seems like it's a pretty tight-knit club, and unless you have an opportunity to kind of get into the club, you're kind of on the outside. So, I think one, that's where we can come into play, because we've worked with credit unions for almost 90 years of our existence. I think we help credit unions kind of identify fintech partners out there, help maybe due diligence on different fintechs, and really help fintech people kind of communicate with credit unions. It can be very different lingo, a member versus customer, even those are some real basic things. But I think also it's you have mature organizations, early stage fintech companies, like helping them realize that it's going to take probably 9 to 12 months on that sales cycle. And how do you plan for that? But at the end of the day, what we want is, again, to really create a bridge between fintechs and the credit union industry through the work that we're doing through True Stage Ventures, to help really kind of both sides speak the same language, create a bridge to connect them, and that's what we spend 90% of our day jobs kind of making those connections.
Yeah, and I would say to all of you, ATM Network, some of our origins, credit union service organizations, all of those have been built within the credit union system to be able to support the credit unions. And what we've been able to do now through companies, through some of the size, is start to build those fintech partnerships to accelerate our ability to serve members. So Jennifer, I know that's a passion of yours. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, I'd like to say, first of all, we're very sensitive about that member-customer thing. So for fintechs, that is really important to us because credit unions are unique, and we want partners that will help us really elevate what's unique about us. We can't write programs to the masses. We talked. Each one of us talked about our unique membership. They're very niche membership needs, and we want partners that are going to help us solve for that. Right? Create this automation, create a really wonderful member experience, and solve for very unique situations. So you're not writing for the 80% of the customers that are walking in the door. You're writing for the members who are maybe the 5% that have something different about them. I want to make sure they have the same experience as everybody else. And so when we're really looking for partners, we're looking for partners who are innovative and creative, that bring new options to the table. Like Navy and like schools, we're on a digital transformation journey as well. And I don't want to program stuff. I don't want to do that. I want partners to do that. I want to serve members. I want to find out their unique needs and make sure that we're providing services to underbanked communities. So the technology is something that we rely on to do the business that we need to do it efficiently, to do it right and with inclusivity. But it's not something that I particularly want to take on my own.
Yeah, and from Mitchell Stackovic and Associates perspective, we want to bring credit unions to you. We want to bring them to the show. We want you to have an opportunity to hear more about what we're doing, and then we want you to learn about our movement, so that we can start to blend in and become more of an ecosystem, right? Okay. So that we work together for the small credit unions as well as for our large credit unions. And so, Bill, I know you're very active in that. And so, what does this mean to you, fintech environment?
Yeah, well, let me comment first on bringing credit unions to the show, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
There are credit unions here. I know there's some in the audience and some on stage, but credit unions we're getting very close to 140 million members in the United States, and so I would think we would see more of an impact of credit unions at a show like this than we do, and I'm very pleased to be here. I worked in Washington, D.C. for 4 years before I came to Schools First a little over 10 years ago. And we used to say all the time that credit unions are the best kept secret in financial services. Some of the conversations I had at the White House in Washington were around, if what you tell me is true about credit unions, why isn't everyone a member of a credit union? Exactly. Why isn't everyone? I mean, we are not-for-profit. We provide our members, we think, a better deal. You can run the members, and they prove that credit unions are a better deal. Because we're not-for-profit, we can provide better rates on savings and better rates on loans and fewer and lower fees. I didn't come here to do a marketing pitch, but my point is, we are a significant part of the financial services marketplace, and it doesn't always seem that way. It probably doesn't seem that way to those of you who run fintech. Some of you, some of these organizations in this amazing hall do serve credit unions, and some of them almost exclusively serve credit unions. And so, we credit unions started not for charity, not for profit, but for service. You've heard us all talk about service up here. We're not charitable organizations, but we are not for profit, and we can return more of our revenue to our members in that sense. We do have to make some return to build capital to support our growth, but other than that, we focus on our members. So in terms of financial technology, look, you're fintechs, we're fintechs. You can't serve your members without technology, whether there's 14 million or 1.4 million or 75,000, they all want to have access 24/7 on their personal devices to their credit union, and they want it to be fast, safe, secure, and free. No problem, right? So we rely on our partners, our financial partners, on TruStage and other important partners. You're absolutely right. We are trying to get away from the homegrown solutions to problems and rely more on partners whose expertise is building systems that are fast and safe and secure. They're not free for us, but they have to be free for our members. So it's absolutely essential. We're fortunate to have a younger membership. I'm guessing maybe Federal probably does too, because you have a lot of young people joining. The average age of a Schools First member is 41, so about 10 years younger than the national average. The average age of a new member is in the early 30s. So that's a great part of our future. But it's not just about Schools First, it's about the credit union movement. That's something you will find. We are a close-knit group of people because we have to work together to make sure that we're all successful. And we all have a stake in how other credit unions are doing, whether it's how we're regulated, how we're insured, which is collectively with the backing of the government. We have national share insurance, deposit insurance, but it's structured a little bit differently for credit unions than it is for banks. So again, take a look at the credit union movement. It's significant. We're serving a lot of people, and we're changing people's lives literally every day through financial services.
Yeah, and I want to add, when you think about that collective unit, you think about the members we're serving, we started, as you mentioned, in a certain field of membership, right? And it was all based upon a common bond. I worked with you, so we had a credit union for our employer. I served with you, so I had the opportunity to work with others in financial services. So we relate to our members in a certain way. And I think that's all about what we're talking about here, is we want to keep those relationships. And so with that kind of growth you're doing, it's amazing. Tell us more.
So thanks. You're going to hear some echoes of what my panelists up here have said, because we all feel very passionate about the same thing, and that is we're very purpose-driven organizations. So despite our name, for those of you who don't know us, Navy Federal serves and it basically has a mission to be the preferred financial institution for all active duty veterans and their families. And that gives us a very large range of membership when you add the family aspect to it. In fact, we've recently determined about 180 million Americans are eligible. So if you're interested, I got some folks out here, we can help you figure out how to be a member. Also not here to do a sales speech, but I'll throw it in there. But we can't do it alone. And we are very interested in partnerships. And we're interested in partnerships. We've started to do that. And as Bill said, not for charity is a key part, but we do give some money to some organizations because it flows down through them to service for our members. So just as an example, we've recently signed a strategic agreement with the USO because the USO directly supports active duty E1 through E6 focused and especially overseas, and we now have a very strong overseas presence. So that mission is important and the partnership is important. And that's what we want. We do draw a distinction between customer and member. We draw a distinction between partner and vendor. Most of our partners know if we are calling you a vendor, that means something. And if we're calling you a partner, that really means something too, because you're part of our purpose and mission then, and that means a lot to us. So we are very focused on building those partnerships within credit unions, building them with great organizations like TruStage, and Sue's great organization. So we very much are building them with many of you that are out there that are supporting us on this big technological journey. And you're our partners because you are helping us deliver that incredible service that our members demand and deserve across the board. So thank you for any of the partners that are out there. Thank you for what you do for us and for our members.
So I want to say that you can see there's passion up here when it comes to our purpose and what we do. It's also a business, and it's also a business that we know financially we have to manage so we can do the return. Several of us are on the Worldwide Foundation board, and we work with other cooperative systems around the world to ensure they have the technology, to ensure that we're building a global movement. And the U.S., our credit unions, support that. So when you see the billion and you see what does that mean, and you think 400 million, those are in areas around the world that most need financial services. But in the United States, the financial deserts, some of the places that our big financial institutions are leaving, credit unions can step in and serve with the help of our technology. Dietrich made the point when we were chatting before we got up here that it does take a location. People want to use technology, but they also want to know you're there. And so we're here to not only educate, tell you about it, talk to you, become a partner, definitely. I'll remember that from the vendor standpoint. And then I also want to say to you, we're going to say some compelling things here to wrap up our session. We want to reach out to each of you and say, this is why we need to work with credit unions, cooperatives. And so I have here that I'm starting with you, Brian. Okay?
Yeah, so I think, again, I'll go back to just the critical importance of the partnerships that have been forged and will need to be forged in the future between credit unions and fintech providers. I talked about, for example, the need for the credit unions to reach a younger demographic. When I look at some of the largest banks here, they have a technology and innovation budget for JP Morgan, Chase, for example, that's almost double the size of the entire credit union industry combined. So how will credit unions deliver digital services, hyper-personalized solutions? Obviously, what has come across here is that service to the member is of utmost importance. And so, I think what is compelling for the future is I think we can hit that billion member mark if we do a better job of, one, reaching out to even, family members of, it could be the children or the grandchildren or nieces and nephews of these older credit union members, and leveraging technology to reach out to them, to make them aware that credit unions even exist, to to talk about that social impact. And so when I look at a lot of the fintech companies that are out here, I think you've heard today an openness and strong interest to partner with good fintech companies. I think that we look for companies that are mission aligned. You kind of hear the mission. We want founders that share that passion, that want to create a difference in the lives of underserved consumers, that want to enable credit unions to continue to thrive and to grow into the future. And so if you share that mission and that passion, there's going to be a connection here. And so I think again there's just a tremendous amount of opportunity. For credit unions that might be slow to the party though, that's where we need to drag them all along to get them to kind of open their eyes to see just how fast this world is changing and how important these relationships are going to be. So that's really, I think, the challenge to the industry as a whole.
It reminded me recently, my daughter had our grandson, my grandson, he's 14 years old, and he was on the stage, and everybody says, well, how do we reach our groups? Do we go on TikTok? How are we going to get our messaging out? And he says, definitely do not dance. Okay? And that came to mind when it comes to what we're going to pass on to our, to future generations, is that when we look at the transitions and platforms, how quickly it's all moving, the reality is that we have to move with it. But we have to understand from them how to touch the people. And I wanted to send that to Jennifer because I know you're doing a ton of partnerships and how you're reaching into the communities.
So we have a big, hairy, audacious goal. We want to end poverty. I mean, that's huge, right? And I know that we can't do it alone. There's so many different ways to combat that, right? We can bring financial empowerment to the communities. We can bring that access that we talked about to those communities. But we really do have to collaborate to make this happen. And we've actually found some wonderful community partners out there. And we find that they might be thinking about food insecurity or homelessness. And we can be the third or fourth leg that really helps bring it all together with a financial empowerment piece that really is foundational and life-changing and game-changing. So we definitely need to collaborate with community partners. I will also like to say too, as far as fintechs go in this space, credit unions do collaborate, and when you break into our space and you get to be one of those trusted partners, we share. So you do get a lot of us when you're a trusted partner. And I think that's a really important part. I know that sometimes you're thinking about the size of organizations and how to reach this large, pool of credit union people. But with that collaboration DNA that we all have, it really does, the word does spread around there. I'd also like to say we are CDFI, we are low income designated. We are Juntos Avanzamos designation, which means that we are focused in on the Hispanic community. We have 70% of our employees who identify as Latinx. But with that, we are also CRA. You can invest in the credit union for CRA. So we welcome all partners, whether there are banks, whether there are fintech partners, to help us help reach our goals and reach our market. Let's get those 7 million underbanked and unbanked people in the United States banked.
Thank you. It does our heart good when we think about the purpose. And I want to tie that to the next generation. We know they want social impact. We know what makes a difference to them, the environment, some of the things that are taking place in the world, and giving them access. And I think through some of those partnerships, we're able to reach an audience. We just have to get that message out there, right? And continue to develop that. All right, Bill, compelling statement.
Yeah, well, thank you. Younger generations are essential. It's interesting. I've met a couple of people at this conference who I did not know. I've met a lot of people I didn't know before at this conference, but I met a couple of people in particular, one last night and one this morning, who saw my name tag, I guess, and both of them had joined our credit union because their parents were educators. They work here. They work at these fintech companies here, but they joined because their mother, in one case, and sister-in-law, actually in another case, was in education. It took them to the credit union to join the credit union. And they're no longer educators. They're not educators, but they still do business with the credit union because they had that introduction at a young age. That's part of the key of reaching younger people is to have their, as Brian, as you suggested, let's find out who they are. Let's get them into the credit union. Sometimes their parents or their grandparents, yes, bring them to us, but they don't always understand the value. Back to that nice Captain Secret thing, right? And if they do decide to choose the credit union, we need to make sure we have the products and the services and the pricing to keep them there, right? We bring a lot of members in the front door. Occasionally we lose them. We have to make sure we have the technology, especially for the younger people, to keep them at the credit union. Because we have the social mission, right? We are structured to benefit our members, not to benefit. Look, we need a strong for-profit banking system in our country, but credit unions are an option. And we can return value to our members. We don't have to return value to shareholders. That's a huge benefit of being a credit union, and it's a huge benefit to our members. And there's almost 140 million credit union members in the U.S. By the end of this year, I'm pretty confident we'll have 500 million credit union members worldwide, with that goal being 1 billion. We got a lot of work to get there, but we can get there if we work together and we have the technology and the partners to serve our members, and not only that, but to reach those potential members who don't know that they're missing out on this best kept secret.
I think it's great. And you mentioned financial education, getting our next generation prepared for the financial futures is going to be a critical part of that as well. So, compelling statement.
Well, I'll be honest, I can't sit up here and talk about credit unions without talking about the phenomenal people we have working in our credit union. So I have 24,000 employees. They are the salt of the earth, and they are all incredibly purpose-driven to do the things that we need to do. So we've been best places to work for 14 straight years. We're going to keep that going. We're also that in many categories. And is those folks and how they deliver such an amazing customer experience to our members that sort of generates the kind of buzz Bill was talking about. It gets other people talking and saying, hey, you should come either work here or you should come join this credit union. So we absolutely have a digital first strategy. That's why we're investing in this next generation of the digital application. We already did the online one. But we have a belief that you always have to be able to get to a person. And we're learning from our research that Gen Z always wants the opportunity ultimately to get to a person. And so we make sure that we'll send you digital. You'll have that opportunity if that's how you want to interact with us. And if you want to get to a human being, you can get to one pretty much like that. We don't send you in any circles. We design all the tech that we have to try and get it done digitally, but where it can't, we move the people. And we think because of that, Forrester's ranked us #1 of all financial institutions in customer experience. Because we deliver that meaningful personal touch at every chance we get, and that comes from the amazing people we have. You can build a workforce like that if you can be privileged to operate an organization that for 91 years has never had a layoff. So that's how we treat our people, and that's how our people treat our members. And I think that's what makes us different. And by the way, any other credit union could make a very similar claim. We just happen to be big enough that Forrester looks at us. So.
Well, I think that's pretty impressive. One thing that I'll say as we start to wrap up here is that when you're out there and you're talking to credit unions, everybody's going, if you will, to the billion, the big, who we represent up here. But we also have about 3,000 credit unions out there that are looking for your services. And we're working on credit union shared services models to be able to integrate and give volume and delivery and be able to, if you will, drive scale for all of you. We know the credit union space is a space that you have to break into. You have to be a partner. But you also can understand that we'll do it together and we'll be able to build it together, and we're working on those models. And so I just want to show of hands out here as we're wrapping up. How many of you are credit union members? Yeah! Now, okay, hold it up for a second. I'm going to take a quick picture. All right? This is what we're going to tell money for money. All right? Look at this group. You know? Woo! So, we're working with Money 2020 to bring our credit union space here. We're working to have them here. So as you adjust and look forward, please be sure to use that language and to advertise for that and to support it and build the social mission. And so we really do have 8 minutes left. They gave us a little extra time. Any final statement, Brian, Jen, Bill, Dietrich? What do you think?
Yeah, I think, maybe just to hit on that point, because I do think finding a way to serve credit unions of all sizes and providing technology to those credit unions is going to be critical to achieving that 1 million member mark. Because I think, my concern is that we'll have half the industry shrinking while the other half is growing. And so, maybe that's an opportunity for the fintech companies in the audience of, let's get creative. How do we serve those smaller credit unions by pooling those credit unions together to provide needed service to them? They have to compete with technology just like the biggest banks. And so how do we solve that challenge? I think that's going to be key to that long-term growth.
We're going to work on it, right? Jen?
I have to say that technology is the way that we can get it done. And we definitely need those partnerships to do that. I hear all the time that unbanked people maybe not want to use technology the same way. They want to be served going to the traditional branches, and that's not true. It's really not true. And in fact, I think that by bringing them real technology, I'm actually helping them have more time to work harder or make more money for their families and not waste effort sometimes to come to a physical location. So technology is absolutely imperative to any segment in the community.
All right, Bill?
Thank you. Well, let me just say, credit unions are good, purpose-driven businesses. Hopefully that's been made clear by all of us who are up here. But credit unions are also good business. I mean, there's a reason to do business with credit unions. There's 500 million of them around the world, or there soon will be. I just returned from Africa a couple of weeks ago with Sue's daughter was there also. And a group of us in Kenya met with the president of Kenya. Now, it's not often you get an opportunity to meet with the head of state. We met with him because he wanted to better understand how cooperatives could help advance the economy of the nation. And so we were there not just to meet with the Kenyan government, but it was the African Confederation of Savings and Credit Cooperatives. They call them SACCOs in Africa, but they're credit unions. They're not-for-profit financial cooperatives. Africa is the youngest continent in the world. It's one of the fastest growing in terms of their population. And they really see credit unions as a solution for the future, not just in Kenya, but throughout the continent. There are credit unions on 6 continents. And as I said, 500 million members. We need your help. If we're going to get to 1 billion members, we need the right partners to do that. And that's what I would say. Thank you. Yeah.
That's right. That's perfect. What do you think?
Just a privilege to be up here with these folks, and I think all of the credit unions will be partners and are going to take this on together. So if you need an anchor, a bigger credit union to anchor the effort so that you can then extend capabilities to others. I mean, that's sort of TruStage provides a lot of that for us, but we're very interested in those kind of partnerships opportunities as well. one more topic I'll just touch on because it's really central to who we are. We really, really believe that there is a significant financial education deficit. I would say not only in this country, yeah, we'll touch that, but probably even internationally. But we're focused, I would say, overwhelmingly inside the borders of the United States, and in particular with our military folks who tend to be taken advantage of often because of that lack of education. So we try to get on every base that is available to be the credit union on base, because the operating agreement that we sign requires us to provide financial education. Now, we lose money on all those on-base credit unions. They are money makers. That's okay. It's the advantage of being a not-for-profit. But that financial education is really core to what we want to build and where many of you can help us. And so I think partnership opportunities are really unlimited. If you're passionate about taking care of people, we're great teammates.
Absolutely. And so I'm going to end it with the final statement. Money 2020, thank you for putting us on the stage. We're just very excited that we've been able to expose you a little bit more to credit unions. And we have a tagline at Mitchell Stankovic, and it's called Get Shit Done, #GSD. Come see us, come talk to us. There are people here in the audience that want to work with credit unions, and we want to work with you. So thank you very much. We appreciate it.